Matt Lodes, the U.S. Insurance Tax Services Leader, and this is PwC's Tax Insights in Brief. Welcome to our discussion of H.R. 1, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, recently signed into law by President Trump. I'm joined by Alexis MacIvor, and we'll be discussing the Act's potential impacts on the insurance industry. With that said, let's start a discussion with some of the things that the Act doesn't change or largely extends. Alexis, can you highlight a few of these items for us today?
Hi, Matt. It's great to see you. The Act does not change insurance-specific tax provisions. In contrast to the TCJA, which made a number of changes to insurance provisions, the Act does not change Subchapter L, taxation of annuities, or the taxation of life insurance contracts. It also does not change the corporate tax rate of 21%, nor does it change the stock buyback excise tax rate. Congress did not need to make changes to maintain these provisions. However, the Act was needed to permanently extend key individual tax provisions, including the lower individual income tax rates. Some modifications were made to the key individual tax provisions, but we won't get into those details here. The Act changes certain international tax provisions by extending permanently and modifying slightly the current rates on GILTI, FDII, and BEAT. More specifically, it decreases the Section 250 deduction percent to 40% for GILTI and 33.34% for FDII. This results in an effective tax rate of 14% for both GILTI and FDII. Additionally, the Act renames the GILTI and the FDII provisions to net CFC tested income and foreign derived deduction eligible income, respectively. The Act increases the current BEAT rate to 10.5% of modified taxable income and maintains current law treatment of the research credit and certain other credits in the BEAT computation. As noted earlier, the Act does not make changes to insurance-specific provisions. Therefore, it provides more continuity and certainty for purposes of business planning within the insurance industry.
Thanks, Alexis. Before we move on, I think we would be remiss if we did not briefly address previously proposed Section 899. A lot of insurance companies are following this provision closely. In short, Section 899 did not make it into the Act following recent discussions with the G7. Now let's dig into some of the items that the Act did change. For example, the Act addresses key business tax provisions that were modified in 2017 under the TCJA. This includes restoration of the deduction for U.S.-based R&E under Section 174, the EBITDA-based business interest deduction limitation under Section 163J, and the 100% bonus depreciation allowance under Section 168K, all of which were expected to some degree. The Act makes these provisions permanent. Would you mind delving into these provisions and the related industry impacts in a bit more detail, Alexis?
Sure, Matt. The bonus depreciation provision may not have a significant impact on insurance companies, given that they tend to have relatively small amounts of fixed assets. Similar, the EBITDA-based business interest deduction limitation may have only a limited impact on insurance companies, because they tend to have significant amounts of interest income. In contrast, for insurance companies making onshore software investments, the changes to the deduction for U.S.-based R&E investments may have a greater impact. In general, under new Section 174 Cap A, domestic R&E expenditures are immediately deductible. Alternatively, taxpayers can make an election to capitalize and amortize these R&E expenditures over a period of not less than 60 months or a 10-year period. Special rules do allow taxpayers to accelerate deductions for unamortized domestic R&E expenditures. This could result in a cash flow benefit to insurance companies.
Thanks. That's a lot to consider, Alexis. If that wasn't enough, the Act modifies, terminates, and accelerates the phase-out of a wide range of IRA clean energy credits, some of which insurance companies may have invested in or for which companies may have provided tax credit insurance. Now that the Act is signed into law, insurance companies should continue preparing for the future by modeling the impacts of its various provisions so that they can implement appropriate business planning strategies. In doing so, companies should pay special attention to effective dates, available elections, and interactions between provisions, among other things. We've covered a lot today, and we will continue to monitor developments as supporting guidance is issued, keeping you up to date all along the way. Thanks for watching. This has been PwC's Tax Insights in Brief.